Hello, I've been to see Bumblebee today. It's the 5th of January, Happy New Year. My first review of the new year, the first film that I've been to see. It's FA Cup weekend. I've been to a football game followed by the cinema. I was going to go and see two movies today, but to be honest, I've been struggling to keep my eyes open during Bumblebee. There was parts where I literally fell asleep. So I'm going to call it a day. I'm going to go home. I'm not going to go and watch Aquaman. I'm just going to wrap it up today having seen Bumblebee, and I'm going to come back on a day where I'm a little bit more up for the movies, because I'm pretty much going to rip Bumblebee to shreds. I'm not going to absolutely lay into it per se, but you're not going to get a good review out of me from this one. And this is where I've often said to you in the past, where a film critic it could be somebody that you respect, could be somebody that you agree with, and then all of a sudden they give this review that you massively disagree with. This could be that review with me. I'm normally massively positive and optimistic about movies because I just frickin' love movies. So it's very seldom that I actually go to a movie and have a bad time, because I just love movies. But this was an occasion where I probably wasn't really up for going to the movies. It was more, I was in town, might as well go and see one while I'm here, and Bumblebee happened to be the movie that fit time-wise. Now, so that's what I went to see, and it just didn't. It was okay, don't get me wrong, but it's getting a 7. It's getting a 7 out of 10. It's 7 out of 10 max. Excuse me. So, like I say, could be that I just wasn't up for it, but this is what I thought of the movie. On the whole, Transformers movies. This is exactly what this was. Bumblebee. It's a Transformers movie. What do I think of Transformers? Well, I am in my 30s, and when I was a kid, Transformers were everything. They were my favourite. I had Transformers covers, like bedsheet covers. I had Transformers figures. Basically, the Transformers were as popular as the Turtles, Thomas the Tank Engine, Postman Pat. You know, those are the kind of things that I grew up with, and I loved the Transformers. So, I am potentially a huge Transformers fan. I love cars, you know, I love that kind of stuff. Formula One, you know, action figures. Well, I don't exactly love action figures, but, you know, Transformers should be right up my street, is what I'm trying to say. And I've seen all of the Transformers movies. I've enjoyed all of the Transformers movies, but I'm by no means a Transformers movie enthusiast. I do not for a second think that they are like amazing movies. They're good, but for how much of a huge Transformers fan I was when I was a kid, I should absolutely love Transformers, but I don't. They're just okay. They're blockbuster, high special effects movies that are definitely worth seeing at the cinema, but how many times would you watch them again and again and again? Well, I can say right now, that will do me for Bumblebee. Until Bumblebee is on TV, I'm fine. I'm not in a rush to see that again. That was perfectly adequate, everything you needed for the time being. I wouldn't even like to say how many times I've seen the Transformers movies. I would say I've probably seen all of them maybe 3 times each. Now, to some people, 3 times might suggest I'm a huge fan, but I'm the kind of movie geek, that would watch a movie that he loves 20 times happily. Easily 20 times, no problem at all. There's probably some movies that I watched when I was a kid that I've seen 50 times plus, and I'd still watch them every single time that they came on TV. So for me to have only seen them 3 times tells you everything you need to know. Oh, there's a car with a big smoking engine here that I'm just driving past. Oh dear. Anyway, So let's get into the specifics about this movie. I'm going to cover my usual topic points. Is it worth going to see at the movies? Where should you sit? Should you stay till the end? And what would I give it out of 10? Now, score out of 10 is easy. It's 10. It's 7. Sorry, it's 10. No, it's not 10. It's 7. It would probably be a 6.2, maybe a 6.5 if I was feeling generous, if it wasn't for the fact that it was spectacularly fantastic visually. If this was just purely on storyline, it would be scoring badly. But the fact that you've got pretty good special effects, this amazing Transformer dude, you know, it evens it up to a 7. So we're going to give it a 7 out of 10. Worth a watch, but nothing to get overly excited about. However, in terms of seeing it at the movies, probably is one of those movies where if you know this is your type of movie, if you're a Transformers fan, yes, 100% you need to see this at the movies, at the cinema, on the big screen. If, like me, you're an average, don't mind Transformers, it's difficult to say. I mean, at the beginning of this film, I literally fell asleep. So that tells you all you need to know, but I was particularly exhausted today. But nevertheless, you know, it is one of those movies that's worth seeing at the cinema, although, as you probably know from all of the Transformers movies, there's at times a little bit too much going on in the sequence where you can't really make everything out anyway. So it's not like seeing it at the big screen really brings the movie to life, because even on the big screen it's quite difficult to really take in exactly what's going on, because the detail is too intense. You know, it just doesn't work. I'm sorry, it just doesn't really work at the cinema. So this would be just as decent, I would suggest, watching it at home, I think. And if you do see it at the cinema, I sat on the very front row, and it was okay. It wasn't the kind of front row where you're breaking your neck looking up, looking left, right all the time. It was one of those screens where the front row is still reasonably positioned back enough. So that was the kind of position that I watched it at, and I would say definitely, as much as it was okay watching it where I was, you definitely want to step back. You don't want to be at the back of the cinema, I would suggest, but for this, I would say the middle of the cinema is where you want to be. You know what it's like, there's so much going on screen. If you're too close, it's just all going to be like, whoa, I need to step back a little bit and get some perspective here. So yeah, you probably need to be in the middle of the cinema. That is where you need to sit. Going back to, is it worth paying to see at the cinema? Like I say, I get to see these movies for free because I've got my pass, Cineworld pass. So I'm fine with that. Yep, definitely go and see it at the cinema if you've got the pass. If you can get in the cinema for $2.95, yeah, why wouldn't you? It's, you know, it's the price of a sandwich and a drink at Greg's sort of thing. So yeah, why wouldn't you go and see it at the for $2.95? But you know, if you're paying £10 and you're the kind of person who, when he pays or she pays £10 to go to the cinema, you'd like to see an absolute blockbuster, this probably isn't the movie. You know, what else is out right now? You've got Mary Poppins, you've got Aquaman. I've not seen Aquaman yet, but I'm going to guess that if you want to see a blockbuster cinema movie, Aquaman is probably going to be better than Bumblebee. You know, for £10 you're going to get more value for money because it's on for longer. And at the end of the day, is it Marvel or is it DC? I forget which one, but you know what I mean. It's the comic book spectacular, so you know the cinematography is going to be amazing and definitely worth seeing. Whereas in Bumblebee, it was just very much in line with all the previous Transformers movies, where yeah, it's good, it looks good, you know, you've got big massive giant Transformer dudes on screen, it's decent, but it's not like, oh my god, that was breathtaking cinema. No, it's okay, but it's not meh, you know. It's nothing to get too excited about. And then finally, do you need to hang around at the end? Well, I waited until, you know, where the credits come up and it's the cast and it rolls down the screen fast. I waited until that point. The lights came on in the cinema, and it appeared very much like nothing else was happening. Even though there was about 6 or 7 other people in the cinema at this point, I left feeling quite confident there was nothing more to come. However, don't rush off the second the movie ends, because there is a end sequence. It's just the most immediate end sequence that you're ever going to see. It's like you could try and leave the cinema before this starts, but you would fail. As soon as the movie ends, it goes to kind of like a credit screen, and then within 3 seconds, boom, it kicks into the end sequence, the bonus feature end sequence, if you like. So hang around, you know, and see that, but to be honest, it's one of those where it would have been impossible to miss. So you need to hang around. It's kind of worth going to the cinema to see if you're a big Transformers fan, or you get to see it for free / for a couple of quid. You want to sit in the middle of the screen, and I'm giving it a 7 out of 10, which is possibly on the generous side. If you want to know the Bumblebee story and how it all began, go watch Bumblebee for 5 minutes, and then after 5 minutes you can go, and that's it, and you've learned everything you need to know about how Bumblebee began, the story of Bumblebee, okay? Because the first 5 minutes tells you everything, you know. Oh, how Bumblebee came to be, well, that is all in the first 5 minutes of the movie. After the 5 minutes of the movie, it's fluffy. It's very, very fluffy. I found it a little bit cheesy, a little bit annoying. The main character, I didn't dislike, but I don't know, found a little bit annoying. Is it American? Is that what it is? I'm English. I find some American stuff a little bit annoying. I don't know, a little bit too, like, happy. I don't know. Maybe, like I say, maybe I was in a bad mood today. That is definitely worth considering. Maybe if I went to see this movie in a fantastic mood, I would see it differently. I did have a child and his dad behind me, so I listened out for when the movie ended. I wanted to hear what the child had to say, and the child loved it. So if you're a kid, you're probably going to love this. The kid did also say, oh, it was scary at such and such a point, so bless him, you know, there must have been parts that were a little bit on the scary side for a kid. This kid could have been 6, 7 years old, you know what I mean, proper little boy. He was dead cute. It seemed like he really enjoyed it, and it sounded like the dad had a good time as well. But if you're an adult and you're not going to see it with a kid, and you're not a huge Transformers fan, this is probably going to be a bad 2 hours. That's what I would suggest. So yeah, it's not great. It's just okay. It's fluffy, like I say. It's, you know, I don't want to reveal anything about the story or what happens, but nothing really happens. You have your link up between Bumblebee and the characters that you would be more familiar with in the Transformers movie. So the what are they called? Not Deathbots, the bad guys, you know, and the Autobots are the good guys, aren't they? So there's very much like referencing between the existing Transformers world. So if you're a big Transformers fan, you're going to love that. It could be a prequel to the Transformers movies, but I would suggest that it's not. It's just very much a Bumblebee prequel. And am I going to watch the movies now and see Bumblebee in a new light and go, oh, I remember Bumblebee in the early movie, what he did, and I see him differently now? No, sorry, I'm not. I'm just not at all. The first 5 minutes of this movie would show you Bumblebee like you want to see him. How did Bumblebee go from being like able to talk to not able to talk. That's the question, isn't it? It's like, is this whole movie leading up to how Bumblebee lost his voice? No. The first, like, 2 minutes, maybe 5, I don't know. The first 5 minutes of this movie is everything you need to know about how Bumblebee came to be. So, if you're really not a big Transformers fan, this would be my tip. You're probably a movie fan. That's why you're listening to this, and that's why you're interested in the first place. If, like me, you're a big movies fan, I would be quite happy if someone said this to me. Okay, so you don't mind the Transformers, but there's a lot of good movies out right now that you want to see, and you don't really have time to go and see them all. So, what to do? Well, this is my recommendation. Find out when Bumblebee is on, and find a showing of Bumblebee that starts half an hour before a movie that you actually want to see. Okay, go and see the movie that you want to see, but get there a little bit early and just sneak into the Bumblebee screen. Okay, so whatever screen Bumblebee's on, pay attention, take note of it, and sneak in there before your movie starts. Watch the first 5 minutes of Bumblebee, maybe 10 minutes at the absolute most. Watch the first 10 minutes of Bumblebee, then walk out, go and watch the movie that you want to see. Go watch Aquaman or whatever else is out, Spider-Man, various things. And that's all you need to see. If you see the first 10 minutes of Bumblebee, you'll be up to speed, and I think you'll know everything you really need to know about Bumblebee. And that's it. That's my tip. By all means, in 2 years' time, in Christmas 2020, when Bumblebee is on TV, give it a watch, for sure. It'll be a good Christmas movie. But go to the cinema to watch it and pay £10? Nah, you'd have to be a pretty hardcore Transformers fan for that. So, that's where I'm going to wrap up my review today. I've been brutally honest. I'm still being probably quite generous and giving it a 7 out of 10, but that's because I love movies. So yeah, let me know what you think. Was I just in a grumpy mood today when I saw this movie, or was it as bad? Okay, not as bad, but as average, meh, is what I think it was. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you on the next review. I'm looking forward to seeing Aquaman. I'm looking forward to seeing Sherlock Holmes. That looks hilarious. I'm looking forward to seeing Laurel and Hardy. I'm looking forward to seeing... Okay, that's about all I'm looking forward to seeing. But what I'm also going to see is Spider-Man. Not looking forward to that at all, but it's supposed to be good. I've never been into the Spider-Man movies particularly. And there's something... Oh, Mary Poppins. Maybe that's going to be brilliant, but for me, Mary Poppins is... It ain't broke, don't fix it. I love the original Mary Poppins. I can only see disappointment. And also, I don't have my gran to watch the new Mary Poppins with. If my gran was here and I could watch Mary Poppins with my gran, I would be so excited. I would have been to see it 6 times with her already. But because she's not here, it's just not quite the same watching a Disney movie without my gran. So I'm not really looking forward to seeing Mary Poppins, but of course I'm going to go and see it at the cinema anyway. And look out for those reviews. Let me know what you think. If you've been to see them, tell me what I need to see first, second, last, and I'll see you on the next review.